People who feel behind in life rarely say it out loud. On the outside, they can look completely normal. They have a job, some daily tasks, a routine. But inside, one thought keeps spinning on repeat. Something is wrong with me. I am late. I am moving too slowly. They open social media and see an endless feed of other people's achievements. Someone has already built a career, moved to another country, bought an apartment, started a family, had children, launched a business, is traveling. And the longer they look at all this, the louder the inner voice becomes. You are behind. You should have done all of this earlier. People like this often have an invisible life schedule in their heads. On this schedule, every event has a correct age. Here you must finish university. Here you must already have a stable job. Here comes marriage, children, big purchases, success. And if real life does not match this inner table, there appears a feeling of failure, even if on paper everything is more or less okay. The feeling I am behind is almost always tied not only to reality, but also to who a person compares themselves with. The more they live in a world of comparison, the more painful any gap with the norm feels. And they usually did not choose this norm themselves. It was quietly built into them by family, culture, environment, and social media. From childhood, many were shown the same route. Study well, get into a good place, get a profession, find a job, climb the ladder, start a family, do not fall behind your peers. Those who move a bit faster along this route are considered successful. Those who move slower start to feel like a problem. People who feel behind often live in a state of constant internal race. Every day feels like an invisible exam where they fail to reach some standard again and again. At the same time, no one clearly explained who invented this standard and why it should be the same for everyone. There is another detail. Such people do not compare themselves with real lives. They compare themselves with other people's best moments. The social media feed lines up other people's weddings, trips, successes, promotion news, photos with children and beautiful homes into one continuous strip. Against this edited montage, their own life looks dull, slow, and wrong. When a person constantly feels like they cannot keep up with the world, a special inner language forms inside them. This language sounds like, "It's too late. There is no point in starting now. All normal people have done this long ago. I am ashamed of my age and my results." Over time, these phrases stop being just thoughts and become part of their identity. What is interesting is that the feeling of being behind rarely takes starting conditions into account. A person may come from a family with little money, a lot of stress, illness, caregiving, or traumatic experiences. But instead of saying, "It was harder for me than for many people, this is why I move at a different pace," they tell themselves, "I am just weak. It's my fault I did not keep up." Sometimes behind such people, there are years of survival rather than years of life. They may have started working early, supporting their family, solving other people's problems, carrying responsibilities that most people do not carry at that age. And when there is finally some space for themselves, they look around and see that while they were just staying afloat, others had time to build a future. From here, a special kind of shame appears. Shame about their biography. Not just shame about mistakes, but shame about the very fact that, at my age, I am not where I should be. This shame makes a person silent. They avoid conversations about plans, success, their personal life, just not to feel even worse. People who feel behind often start avoiding meetings with classmates, relatives, old acquaintances. Not because they do not love these people, but because they are afraid of unavoidable comparisons. Every question like, "So, how are you? What are you doing now? Have you already?" sounds to them like a hidden accusation. The paradox is that from the outside, many of them look quite put together and reasonable. They know how to listen to others, how to support, how to give good advice, how to be a solid friend. But towards themselves, they apply completely different standards, maximally strict, with no right to make mistakes and no space for circumstances. Behind the feeling, "I am behind," there are usually several deep beliefs. For example, my value as a person is defined by my status and achievements. If I move slower, people will stop respecting and loving me. If it is late, it means it is forever. These beliefs do not appear from nowhere. They can be passed on by parents, school, culture, and then strengthened by the entire information field. There is another layer, the fear of stopping and honestly seeing where they are now. As long as a person is running, even if they are running in place as hard as they can, it is easier not to look in the mirror. But if they admit, yes, right now I am not where I wanted to be, a strong pain appears and it is scary to face it. Sometimes the feeling of being behind is not only about outer milestones, but also about inner development. A person may think, at my age, I should be emotionally mature, confident, calm, and I still get lost in myself, need approval, and do not know how to build healthy relationships. Then the delay is felt not in money or status, but in how grown up they feel inside. Some people went through serious losses or trauma during the years when others were developing according to plan. Someone had depression, someone had long-term burnout, someone was in toxic relationships, struggled with addiction, violence, or serious illness. During these periods, a person does not live forward. They are simply trying not to fall apart. After such stages, many people look at their lives like at a ruined building. They see only what they did not manage to build: a career, healthy connections, experience, confidence. And they rarely notice what they did do, survived, got out, restored themselves at least partially, and learned something from this experience. People who feel behind often devalue their invisible achievements. The ability to endure difficult emotions, the capacity for empathy, the skill of caring for others, inner depth. All of that seems to them like not real success. Real success, in their eyes, is only what can be shown in the form of a result, a date, a milestone checked off on a social checklist. Because of this, there appears a chronic feeling that any step they take is not enough. If they start something new, it feels too late. If they make a small bit of progress, they immediately compare themselves with those 10 steps ahead and erase their own joy again. Over time, the image of a normal life becomes for them like a distant shop window. On this display lie correct biographies. No extra zigzags, neat sequences of steps, no pauses and setbacks. And the longer a person stares at this window, the more they are convinced, my story is broken. I am late for my own life. It is important to notice that the feeling of being behind often lives in the language of time. There are many phrases like, I should have done this earlier, it is already too late. All normal people at this point in life. In this language, there is almost no present. There is only a past where they did not make it, and a future where they supposedly can no longer fix anything. But the lives of people who feel behind rarely fit into a straight line. More often, they look like a map with unexpected turns, forced stops, and stretches where they had to walk in the dark, almost by touch. And on this map, there is no single correct route. Sometimes the very people who feel behind have done enormous inner work that is almost invisible from the outside. They may have broken destructive patterns, left unsafe environments, learned not to repeat other people's mistakes. This can take years, and these years do not disappear just because they did not immediately turn into a pretty, showable result. The feeling of being behind is dangerous because it paralyzes. When a person believes that it is already too late, they stop taking even small steps. The brain protects them from pain, and instead of movement, there appears postponing, procrastination, endless collecting of information, but not action. Sometimes they tell themselves, if I had started at 20, it would have made sense, but now there's no point. Behind this phrase lives the pain of lost time and the impossibility of bringing the past back. Admitting this pain is hard, so it feels easier to declare any new attempts meaningless than to risk and face possible disappointment again. At the same time, research and clinical experience in psychology show that people change and build new lives at different ages. Some get an education at 40, some switch careers at 50, Some learn to care for themselves for the first time after decades of pure survival. Age becomes not a sentence, but a context. Yes, starting is harder, but it is not the same as impossible. For people who feel behind, a very important step is to change the perspective. Instead of asking, "Why am I not where everyone else is?" try asking, "What has actually been happening to me all these years, and what have I already carried out of it?" The answer to this second question is rarely pleasant, but it gives back some respect for their own story. Another important step is to break the idea of a single correct timeline. There is no universal age for love, for studying, for changing careers, for creativity, or for leaving toxic situations. There is a specific person with their conditions, body, psyche, past, resources, and pace. This does not mean do nothing and just repeat everyone has their own path. It is more of an invitation to change criteria, to compare yourself not with some abstract norm, but with your own earlier self, with who you were yesterday, last year, 10 years ago, and to notice not only what I still do not have, but also what has appeared inside me over this time. Sometimes it is enough to honestly tell yourself, yes, I make some decisions later than many people, but this does not cancel the fact that it is still important for me to do this. Not to prove something to someone, not to keep up with a foreign schedule, but for the sake of your own values. Then each small step stops being an attempt to chase a mythical standard and becomes an act of caring for yourself. People who feel behind desperately need a softer, more respectful way of seeing themselves. First of all, from their own side. They need to hear not only "you must pull yourself together and catch up," but also, "what you have already gone through was heavy. It is no surprise that you are tired and moving differently now." From this kind of attitude towards themselves, laziness does not grow. A more stable desire to move forward does. And at some point, the question, "Am I keeping up with others?" may slowly be replaced by a different one. If I drop everyone else's expectations and timelines, what kind of life do I actually want to live? And what would be an honest next step for me right now? The answer to this question will not appear in one evening, but it definitely does not depend on the number in the passport or the number of checked boxes in someone else's checklist. Beyond the general reasons, the feeling of being behind also shows up in different scripts that a person can fall into again and again. One of them is the script of endless comparison with successful peers. In this script, almost any exposure to other people's news turns into an internal hit on themselves. For example, a person reads, "My business just reached a new level. We bought an apartment. I finally got my dream position." They may have no business, no apartment, no dream position, and instead of feeling inspired, they feel heaviness and envy toward the very fact that someone else made it. Over time, they may either completely withdraw from other people's news, or, on the contrary, get painfully stuck in this comparison, unable to look away. Another script is the feeling of guilt for wasted years. A person looks back and sees a period that seems empty. They studied at the wrong place, worked at the wrong job, loved the wrong people, spent time on things that did not lead to a visible outcome. It seems to them that those years should have been lived differently, that they irreversibly lost time, and this feeling prevents them from using what they have now. There is also a third script, the script of always starting from zero. A person constantly changes directions, jobs, ideas, projects, relationships, with the thought, now it will finally be real. But each time when it becomes hard and scary, they quit and end up at the start again, and then blame themselves for never staying anywhere and never finishing anything. All of these scripts share one common feature. They view life as a straight line, where it is important to move fast and never stop. Pauses, setbacks, zigzags in this picture are seen as failure, not as part of a living process. But real human biographies almost never look like a perfectly rising graph. The feeling of being behind affects not only thoughts, but also the body. Chronic tension from the internal race can turn into constant anxiety, fatigue, problems with sleep. A person may wake up with a sense of heaviness and fall asleep with the thought, "I still did not do enough today," even if objectively the day was full of tasks. The nervous system in such conditions lives in a state of constant readiness. The body acts as if around every corner there is an exam, an evaluation, a comparison, potential judgment. Because of this, it becomes hard to relax. Rest stops feeling like a right and starts to feel like a crime against some mythical productivity. Over time, this also affects concentration. When part of the brain is constantly occupied with thoughts like, "I started too late," "I am not keeping up," "I should have done more by now," it is hard to dive deeply into any task. Any attempt to focus is interrupted by the inner background of, "It is too late anyway," and a person spends enormous energy just fighting their own doubts. The feeling of being behind also affects relationships. A person may avoid intimacy because they feel they are not accomplished enough to be with someone good. They think, "First I must get my career, income, status in order, and only then can I think about love," and push relationships into an undefined future. At the same time, inside, there can be a strong need for support and acceptance. But each time someone shows interest or warmth, they start thinking, "If this person finds out what my life is really like, they will be disappointed." Because of this, they either push closeness away or let people in, but constantly wait for the moment they will be exposed and judged. Friendship can also suffer from the feeling of being behind. A person stops writing first because they feel they have nothing to brag about. They are embarrassed to talk about their life if it does not fit the usual success narrative, and slowly they fall out of contact even though they actually need connection. At the same time, people who feel behind often have a strong ability to understand other people's pain. Their own experience of comparison, shame, and late starts makes them sensitive to those who are struggling. But they rarely turn this empathy toward themselves, continuing to treat themselves in a way they would never treat any friend. When speaking about gentle steps, it is important not to turn them into another checklist that they can fail. This is not about catching up with all the norms in one week, but about small, realistic actions that return a sense of influence over their life. These steps will not turn someone into a success hero, but they help to notice, "I can move my story at least a little, not just compare it with someone else's." Sometimes one such step can be an honest review of their real biography, not in the format of self-blame, but as a careful list. What has been happening to me? What were my conditions? What problems I was solving? What took my strength? Even this exercise often shows that the person was not lazy, but occupied with surviving, holding responsibilities, and adapting to difficult circumstances. Another step is a very small but concrete move in the direction of what truly matters. Not a huge 5-year plan, but one step for the coming week. Send one message. Book one consultation. Gather information about one program. Do one module of a course. Sort out one small piece of the chaos. The goal is not to change life in a week, but to prove to themselves that movement is possible at all. A further step is to soften the inner language at least a little. To replace phrases like, "I am too late forever," with, "I am starting later than many people, and that is true, but it is still a beginning." It sounds simple, but for the nervous system it makes a big difference. One message closes the future, the other leaves at least a narrow corridor of possibilities. Finally, it is important to allow themselves not to know exactly what an ideal life should look like. The feeling of being behind often rests on a very rigid picture of what is right. But if this picture is gently questioned and they ask themselves, "Given everything I have lived through, what do I actually want?" it can turn out that a big part of the race was for someone else's goals. This does not erase the pain of time that has passed or of opportunities that truly cannot be brought back. But instead of the sentence, "I am too late for everything," a more sober thought appears. Yes, there are things I cannot redo, but there are also things I can still influence. And in this space, influence is not measured by speed or by matching a foreign timeline. It is measured by how honest they are with themselves and by their willingness to take doable steps. People who feel behind in life are often living at the edge of their inner resources. They carry a story of tension, comparison, unspoken fears, and unfulfilled expectations, their own and other people's. And if to this story we add not only criticism, but also respect, their path can slowly stop being an endless race and become, at least a little more, their own.